Hello everybody, welcome back to Bad Luck Garage. Continuing on with the DR Nova build, we got gauges. So what I'm going to do in this video, I'm going to kind of unbox the gauges, show you guys what we got, why we got them, and then I'm going to show you us getting them installed, or me. I'm not sure, because this is how this is going to work out, guys. I'm doing the unboxing right now, but this video is actually probably going to take place over the course of the next week or two, because after I do this unboxing, we have some stuff to finish up on the Nova, and we're going to have to make a custom bezel to go in there to hold these gauges. So if you notice I'm wearing different clothes at different points during the video, that's why, because this video is actually not going to be filmed all at once. It's going to be kind of a hodgepodge put together, but I wanted to show you the whole process. I didn't want to just do an unboxing video and then do a separate video of the install. So that's what's coming. Let's check out the new gauges. These are the Marshall C2 black dial gauges. So here's the deal. We were trying to decide on some gauges to use. I kind of threw the idea of the Dakota Digital gauges past Ray. When I said $800 and I saw the look on his face, I was like, okay, he's not going for that. So what we ended up doing is going on eBay, and we went through a bunch of different eBay gauges. Some of them as cheap as $170, $180. Most of them had really shitty reviews. But I finally found these Marshall gauges, and every review that I saw on these, say for maybe one or two reviews, they had really good reviews, guys. And Ray really liked the way they look, so that's what we decided to go with. Now, upon initial inspection, like if you look at these, the first thing you're going to notice is they look an awful lot like the Autometer Pro Comp or Sport Comp 2 gauges. And I think that's what they were modeling them after, and that's probably why they call them the C2 gauges, like Comp 2. But basically they're backlit, LED backlit. They have glowing needles and everything. You've got your 160 mile per hour speedometer. I don't know if you can see that because of the light refracting off there, but 10,000 RPM tach, you know, your voltometer, oil pressure, water temp, fuel, all your basic gauges. And the cool part about these is you can go online and buy other gauges that match these. So in this Marshall C2 line, they also have, you know, like transmission temp gauges, boost gauges, you know, all that stuff. So if you want to add like a pillar pod or something and you want all your gauges to match, you can do that. So we flip these over and we can see it came with all the sending units. So we'll go ahead and cut our tape now. So right here we have our oil pressure sending unit, and we have our water temp sending unit. You can get these in different resistance for the fuel gauges. I ordered the one 0 to 90 ohm, which will match the GM sending unit that we just put in our fuel tank. So before I put them in, the only thing I do want to test is I just want to make sure the lights work on all of them. So I'm going to set a battery up here, get me a couple pieces of wire, and we'll check that out real quick. Oh, there we go. So that's lit up, but it actually says, lamp 1 and lamp 2. So I'm not sure what lamp 2 is, so we're going to try that out. Sorry if I'm shaking, guys, but it is freaking cold. Ah. Now, I'm not sure what that's all about. I guess, so it's got two different options. You can either have white or red, I guess. It's switchable, so that's cool. I'm going to go ahead and try out the speedometer. Actually, what I'm going to do, guys, is probably off camera, I'm just going to go ahead and try all these out because I want to make sure all the lights work. That's pretty much all I have the ability to test. You can see there's the speedometer. It lights up. But that's pretty much all I have the ability to test at the moment. So the first thing we've got to do is hook up our sending units. So We've got our oil pressure sending unit and our water temp sending unit here. Now, in order to hook these up, we are going to need some adapters. For the oil pressure sending unit, you're going to need an adapter that looks like this. This is a metric 16 by 1.5 thread adapter to a 1/8 NPT. Now, you can find these on eBay. You can also find them at your local auto parts store, but you're usually better off just buying them online on eBay or something like that. And I will post links for both of the adapters that we're using in the description of this video. So, of course, all you're going to do is screw that adapter into the engine block like you see it right there. Then we're going to put some Teflon sealant around the threads of our oil pressure sending unit here, and then we're just going to screw it into the adapter. Now, the temperature sensor is actually going to go in the passenger side head right here behind your exhaust manifold or header. This temperature sensor is a 1/8 NPT, as most are, that will come with aftermarket gauges, and of course this does not screw into the metric port on your head back here. So you have two options here. The option I like to use is, as you can see, I have actually drilled out the hole and I have tapped it for a 3/8 NPT adapter, which is a pretty standard size adapter that you can buy at your local auto parts store or online. And I will put a link to this adapter in the description of this video. This is my preferred method if you're going to have the head off the engine. Now, you can drill and tap these with the head on the engine. You just want to use a lot of grease on your bits. Make sure you don't get any metal shavings down into your cooling system there. If you want to see how I drilled and tapped this head, you can go back and watch the cylinder head installation video in this DR Nova playlist. Option B is the easier option, but in my opinion, not as reliable. You can get one of these on eBay. This is a long adapter that threads into the factory hole. I believe it's a 12 millimeter by something thread, but these are sold on eBay as coolant temp sensor, LS engine coolant temp sensor adapters. They're about 12, 13 bucks, so they cost about 2 to 3 times as much as the adapter I just showed you. They will screw right into the cylinder head, but the problem is they stick out really far, guys. If you see that, that's how far that would stick out. It makes it kind of a pain in the ass to get this last plug wire on and off. And also, just about every one of these I've found is made out of aluminum, and they are notorious for breaking off, the threads snapping off, and yeah, then you're going to have a bad day because you're going to have the threads stuck in your head and you're going to be dumping coolant everywhere. So I highly suggest you go back and watch my LS cylinder head installation video and just tap that for a 3/8 NPT to 1/8 NPT adapter. We're going to do the same thing that we did with the oil pressure sending unit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, put some paste on my sending unit here. I'm going to thread it into the adapter. Then I'm going to thread the adapter into the cylinder head and also use some paste on it. And now that sensor is in as well. Now I'm going to need to run wires to my sending units that go to the back of the gauges. So color here isn't really important. All that matters is you know what's what. What I'm going to use is I'm actually going to use the yellow wire for my oil pressure, and I'm going to use a blue wire for my coolant temp sensor. Oil pressure, you're going to need a ring terminal. Temperature, you're going to need a female spade connector. On this sending unit, you're going to have 2 posts. You're only going to use one. There's a post that's marked G and a post that's marked WK. You're going to use the G post. You're just going to screw your wire into there. The WK terminal is actually for a common ground, but the switch should ground itself through the engine block, so you should not have to use that terminal. And you can feel free to use my mantra, which is some zip ties and a little convoluted tubing. Never hurt anybody. I got those wires hooked up. I've got them both ran together inside this tubing. I'm going to bring them around behind the engine and probably in through this little hole right here that we already have from an accessory that we have taken off. and get them running to the dash with all the other wires. So Ray's Ray's trying to make a panel to hold all the gauges here. So what he's doing, he's measuring where he wants the gauges before he cuts the holes, and then when we're finished with this, it's actually going to overlay this whole area right here on the factory cluster. So some of this is going to get cut out to make room for gauges, but like I just said, it's going to overlay all this inside here, and then we're probably just going to have maybe screws in the corners here or something like that. We're not sure yet, but we'll know when we get it done. So Ray's kind of using pieces of the cardboard that the gauges came in, the packaging. He's using that as templates to figure out where to put the gauges.
It being black too.
Yeah, it'll kind of blend in. Well, it's going to be back behind the steering wheel. This is what we got, guys. We've got our piece of metal here. Ray's cut away the area on the back to clear the bottoms of the gauges, because the plastic part here used to come up to like right here behind this. But what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to put screws here and here. I don't know quite how we're going to clamp it to the top, because it's just on a lip.
Taping this.
Oh, I'm so recording this, because this shit's fixing to get janky as hell.
Yeah, it is.
It looks nice. I mean, the template looks nice laying there. They said we don't need no stinking hole saw. Freaking sheet metal workers. Looking good, looking good. That's purty, Ray. That's looking purty right there.
That'll work out.
Yep.
Coming up pretty close to my lines. Everything's pretty well set apart right.
We can't be cleaning. My garage wouldn't look like this if we cleaned.
Slivers away.
There we go. Oh yeah, that's gonna look cool. It's pushing it out because this is sitting down on the thing. There you go. Yeah. I think that's gonna look good, man. That's gonna look good. Flip it over, see what she looks like.
No! That's a...
Ha-ha!
That almost looks good like that, don't it?
Ray, that's pretty damn close, man.
Yeah.
Alright, guys. Check that shit out. That is nice. Let's set it in the dash. We'll have like, what, 4 screws across the bottom, and then we'll probably have like 2 screws at the top, and then we'll put turn signal indicators right here and here,
right
there, and a check engine light there. Hell yeah, guys. That turned out pretty damn good. So now that we have test fitted these in the dash, what I'm going to do is flip it over, and I'm going to start making the wiring harness. What I'm going to do, in order to, have a bunch of wire, or not to have a bunch of wires that run into one big wire, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to daisy chain all the power wires and all the ground wires. So I will take the power to this gauge, then run it to this gauge, then run it to this gauge, then to this gauge, etc. And when I get to the last gauge here, then I'll just have one long power wire that'll come out, come to the middle, and come back to the plug that I'm going to use. Here we go. All the wiring is done. I didn't really think it was necessary to do that on video. I explained how I was going to do it. I daisy chained all the powers and all the grounds, just like I said I was going to. And then I just followed the directions that came with the gauges as far as sensors, how they hook up and everything. And then, you know, the big part here, I've still got to work on this a little bit with the tape. But the big part here, I put loom on, and then I ran it to the plugs that Dustin sent us a while back. So this is the gauge end of the plugs. And then in the car here, we have the other end of the plugs, which I've already got all that wired up as well. So they just plug in here, guys. As far as how I did the tack wire and everything with the resistor, you can check out the video in my LS Tech Tips playlist. I kind of go over how to wire up the LS tachometer to get it working right with an aftermarket tack. But I do want to say, at this point, it has been 1 month since I started this video. And the reason it's been so long is because I've been waiting on these. These are all the signal lights for the check engine light, the bright lights, and then we've got turn signals that are going in here. So yeah, guys, I'm putting links to all this in the description of this video, but I'm going to tell you now, if you want to use these nice looking type of indicator lights, they come from China. It took a month to get these, and actually it took a few weeks to get a couple of them, and they sent the wrong ones and they had to resend them. It was a big pain in the ass. So if you're going to use these, make sure you order them at least a month before you start this project, or you're going to be like me and get halfway through a video, halfway through a gauge install, and get stalled out waiting. So anyway, the next thing I'm going to do here, I'm actually going to take all these gauges back out of here. Now that my harness is all zip tied and everything, I should be able to just unscrew everything and just pull this off as one big harness. Everything should pretty much stay where it needs to go. And then I'm going to use some of this black vinyl right here, and we're going to wrap this whole panel in black vinyl so it kind of blends in with the rest of the interior. And so that when I put my little indicators in here, they kind of blend in too, and, you know, kind of look like it was factory made. This isn't going to work.
Yeah, whether you put it on another place or set it up street. But can we get it out this week?
Okay, so as you saw in the video, I really wanted to wrap this in black vinyl. It was not working out. I just kept getting bubbles, tried a heat gun and a squeegee. Yeah, it just wasn't getting it, guys. So I decided to just paint it instead, which kind of sucks because that means it's gonna take a whole nother day to do this because I'm gonna have to wait for the final coat to dry. But I just put on some self-etching primer, sanded it, put that on. I'm gonna put 2 more light coats of the primer on, and then we'll put a couple coats of semi-gloss black on, just like we used on the engine bay. So hopefully it'll turn out okay. Ray will still like it. Just sucks I couldn't get the vinyl to work, but I just did not feel like wasting a bunch of vinyl. I mean, I've got enough. I could probably redo it 4 times, but as bad as the first time was turning out, I'm sure the consecutive times wouldn't have turned out any better. So this is what we're doing now. The paint turned out 100 times better than the vinyl was turning out. So as always, I use some Rust-Oleum self-etching primer, 3 coats of that. Then I used 3 coats of the Rust-Oleum acrylic enamel 2X. And just so you know, the acrylic enamel is what you want for metal surfaces. They make 2 types of the 2X coverage. You'll usually find this in the automotive section at Walmart. The stuff you find in the paint section at Walmart is not the acrylic enamel. It's just I guess regular enamel. I don't know, but it's not really made to stick to metal. So I always go for the acrylic stuff here when I'm dealing with automotive shit. So anyway, we got all the gauges. put back in the panel now. See the back side, everything's fastened in. We got our turn signals, our high beam indicator, and our check engine light here. And now I'm ready to mount this in my frame, or my gauge bezel. Comes to this side of things, things are a little hacked up looking, but the reason they're hacked up looking is because we wanted to leave some material. The insert that we made actually goes all the way from this lip to this lip here, so we wanted to leave some material in here to run our screws through. So that's why this looks kind of hacked up. I mean, we could have cut this completely out, maybe figured out a way to mount it from the back, but it's fine the way it is. And like I said earlier, it's been a month since I started this video, so I can't remember if I showed you guys how we're mounting this, but we have 4 screws that go along the bottom, go through our new bezel we just made, and go into these holes here. And then up top we have 2 screws, and they actually go through in front of this. And then I've got these little clips on the back, so the clips go like this, the screw goes through, and it kind of sandwiches this thin strip of plastic here to hold, you know, it sandwiches it in between the clip and the new bezel, and that holds it nice and solid up top there. And there we go, all installed in our panel there, looking good. Got turn signals, everything. I'm pretty happy with that, guys. Like, I really am. I think that looks really nice. We probably could have got it a little closer here, you know. If I was doing it over, I would try to bring this down to fill this gap in a little bit, but we only had enough sheet metal for one shot. Probably should have made a template first like I usually do, but all in all, guys, I think it's going to look good in there. All that's left to do now is take our harness. Basically all I have to do is set it back on there, tighten all my nuts and all that jazz up, plug these connectors into the back of the tack and the speedometer, and then put it back in, plug it up, and we got our new gauges. Our harness is reinstalled. Everything seems tight. Everything's the way it should be. Now I'm just going to make sure I set my dip switches in the tachometer here. In my case, now normally in a LS swap application, you want to set this to a 4-cylinder signal, but in my case, I've went in my tune and I've changed my signal to output a 8-cylinder signal. So I'm just going to set this up for 8-cylinder. If you want to know how to do that, by the way, guys, if you don't know, I actually have a whole playlist called LS Swap Tech Tips. So if you go in there, you're going to find a lot of little videos that I've done to show you how to do things like that, different ways, things you need to change in your tune, or stuff about your fuel system and stuff. So check that playlist out if you want. But like I just said, I changed mine to 8-cylinder output, so that's what I'm going to set this to. The only other connection I need to make is there's actually a little button with these gauges to calibrate the speedometer, but what I would rather do is find out what the pulses per mile are on this speedometer. I'm probably going to call Marshall and ask them, and that way I can just adjust the speedometer in my tune instead of having to worry about the button and, you know, setting it that way. So yeah, I should be good to reinstall. Before I actually screw everything back into the dash, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here, I'm going to plug this in, I'm going to hook the battery back up in the car, and I'm just going to check my turn signals and bright indicator and everything, just make sure everything's working. I've already checked the gauges when we did the first start on the car a couple days ago, and all the gauges seem to be working. The tack did seem to be reading off though, so that's why I know I need to set my dip switches. But yeah, I am back in the car here. I've just kind of got it set in here at the moment. Don't have it bolted up, but we will try our lights first. Nice. Yes, very nice. Headlights are working out there. Okay. Yeah, that's nice, guys. Check that out. And try our bright lights. And our bright light indicator works. Turn signals. Well, the turn signals are kind of iffy anyway. Oh, gotta have my key forward. So let's turn our key forward. Fuel pump kicked on. Odometer is on. Have barely any gas, which makes sense. Alright, well, we got a little problem. For some reason, the voltometer is not working at the moment. It was working the other day, so I'm not sure what's up with that. Oh, it is working. It's just showing, for some reason it's showing the battery's super low. I don't get that. But anyway, let's try our turn signals. There's that one. And there's that one. Awesome. So everything seems to be working. I'm not sure what the deal is with the voltometer, why it's reading so low, but I mean, I know I've got more than that. I'm gonna have to check the connection on that, guys, because that should definitely be reading higher. And when I turn them off, it drops down. But when I turn them on, for some reason it reads low. Not quite understanding that. Hell, let's just fire it up. Just for shits and giggles. Yep. Oil pressure is reading good. At this point, I have got to figure out what's going on with the voltometer, but I think I can kind of wrap up this gauge video. Putting the instrument cluster back together is not a big deal. You know, you're going to put your radio back in. In this case, the previous owner has made some kind of custom mount for the radio. So what I'm about to do is not going to really show what you would be doing. But pretty much, you take your AC controls here, or heater controls, put them up. The screws, this screw actually goes through here, and into the top of the dash. You got two more screws go up here and into the bottom of your climate controls there, and then, you know, it's just a matter of putting all the screws back in and you're good to go. So that's it, guys. Like I said, I would like to kind of show you installing everything, but some of what I'm doing is kind of custom, so it's not really going to apply to most people with a, you know, 70 whatever Nova anyway. Also, I want to get this video out. Like I've said several times throughout the video here, this video has been going on pieces at a time for about a month now, and there are several guys on some of the Facebook pages, different Nova Facebook pages, that have been asking about the gauges and when the video was going to be done. So I really just want to get it done and get it pushed out. So I'm going to go ahead and call it quits there. I will put links for all the parts that I used in this in the description. I think including the price of the gauges, materials, indicator lights, everything, I think we're still well under $450 on this gauge set. So pretty happy about that. You know, if it's something you want to do, the custom gauge set, I mean, it's really not hard. It's just kind of time consuming. But now you kind of know what's involved, you know, about how long it's going to take. The wiring takes the longest, you know, just making the custom wiring harness. That actually took me the longest. And, you know, I just kind of sat on my couch and did it. I had the gauges laying in my lap, and I just kind of made everything up while I was watching TV there. But anyway, guys, that's it. So I want to thank everybody for watching. If you like this video, don't forget to hit the thumbs up button, share it with someone else who might need it. Now get out in the garage, get something done, and I'll see you next time here on Bad Luck Garage.